it's only right.
Yeah.
Check. Episode 3, that's unheard of. We got a special guest in the building today. We got my man, Coach Tibbs. Welcome, my brother.
Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming. So, first of all, bro, thank you for coming. Like I said in my last episode with Red, the point of this show is we like to give flowers to our Staten Island legends while they're here. You know, because a lot of times we miss our gap because we lose them too early, right? So, from us, we just want to tell you how much we appreciate it. That's how we're going to start this interview.
I appreciate that. Legend is, I definitely don't deserve to be in a legend category, especially when you
stop.
talk about like Red Trip and guys like that. But
Stop.
I appreciate that. I'm big on the flowers though.
Another thing too, here, this is where all the humbleness leaves. This is a barbershop. we you know what I mean? But anyway, let's get into this. So kind of talk about how you grew up, or where'd you grow up at? Because I really don't know too much. You really got me by a couple of years.
Yeah, so I'm from the Harbor. I was born on Harbor Road. Always got to preface it by saying to people, like, I never lived in the projects, because sometimes when you say you're from a neighborhood, they disassociate it with the project. So grew up in the projects and everything. My family, my friends, everything is there. So that's what I associate. Like, who I am today has a lot to do with that neighborhood even still. So grew up in the Harbor, went to PS 44 and all that, and lived in the neighborhood until recently. I just moved out in October out of the neighborhood. But that neighborhood, I like to tell everybody, it's the most talented neighborhood in the world. Like wherever I go, if I'm recruiting, if I'm somewhere and people ask me where I'm from, I say Mariners Harbor, Staten Island. I don't say Staten Island, New York. I don't say New York. I say Mariners Harbor, Staten Island. So I got a lot of pride in the neighborhood. It's heavy in me, and it's forever gonna be in me.
Shout outs to the Harbor. I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that. 'Cause you Park Hill,
as you
Park Hill.
should.
But anyway, moving on. So, growing up, you coming from the Harbor. How'd you get to St. Peter's? Coming from the Harbor.
Yeah, so I went to public school into 7th grade. I actually went to 61, so that's why I met a lot of my New Brain and West Brain friends going to 61. But in the middle of 7th grade, my parents pulled me out and put me in Catholic school. I think they had an eye on, you might go to Catholic school in high school. Let's see if you like it. Let's see if you get adjusted. And I couldn't stand it. I mean, once you come from public school and riding the bus and doing all this stuff, lunchtime is crazy, and in Catholic school, everything is a rule.
Right.
I did not like it at all. But watching, I mean, we had some people from the neighborhood. Big shout outs to Stan, Shark Life, and Mitch Man, Steve Mitchell, like guys from my neighborhood. I went to Peters.
Right.
So, you always watch the Peters Curtis games and everything, and I would go and I root for anybody. But then my 8th grade year, I went, John Biano was the point guard. They had Ahmed Thompson. I'm watching the game, and at the end of the game, John Biano, they had no shot clock. He's dribbling the clock out. And I'm like, yo, I want to do that. I want to be that guy. So that's when I started coming around and going to Catholic school. My parents gave me a couple of options, and then St. Peter's ended up being the choice, and it was one of the best decisions I made in my life.
Yeah, so that's my next question. So, like, I couldn't imagine going to a Catholic school.
And all boys, you could say it.
All boys school. That's another thing. All boys school. How did you get through that? Was it strictly because of sports that kept you?
So you got to take a test. It's the tax test now. It used to be the co-op when I took it, but you got to take a test to get in. I scored really high, so they put me in the highest academic thing. So that was really big for me and my family. You never know how far academics could take you. You always want to play ball or play this or play that, but the academic piece was a big thing for me. But going there, you start to realize when you get there and everything, and no boys was, 14 years old. I wasn't excited about that. But you've seen other people who were successful, and, St. Peter's Girls was around the corner.
Right.
But going there really opened your eyes, because my first year I had 70-something detentions. And, I mean, I was getting detentions 5 at a time. Right. And detention is just not a place you want to be if you're at St. Peter's. It's just the worst thing. You miss your bus to go home. You got to wait. It takes mad long to get home. So you're not with your boys. It's extra whack. So actually, at the end of my first year, I had to sign a paper that if I got a certain amount of detention, they were going to kick me out of school. So I was still adjusting to just, you can't be the class clown as a freshman at St. Peter's and think you're going to get away with it. So I still have like a public school mentality and around kids who've been in Catholic school their whole life. So it was still a huge adjustment. And I didn't like it. I actually begged my parents to take me out. Wow. And they did me a great favor in not allowing me to quit. And as you get used to it, you realize it's the best place in the world. It teaches you how to be a man. You can't cut class. It's impossible. If you
Right.
even 5 minutes late from class, they call in your house. So
Damn.
it gets you focused. You know, a lot of my friends are
Sorry.
going home and they're like, yeah, I've been home for, I skipped fifth period. I've been home and whatever. I had no opportunity to do that.
Right.
So it was hard sometimes getting off the bus and walking down and walking into my neighborhood and people, you know, make fun of you, a little jokes. But I think inside they knew that I was doing what's best for myself, and it continues to pay off to today.
Right. So I got a little question. If it wasn't Peters, what other school would it have been that you went to?
More Catholic. So Kyle McElwain is a year older than me.
Right.
So I've known Kyle since I was in like the 5th grade. I've always had an admiration for the way he worked. And that class, I mean, there was 10 advanced all-stars, the class above me. And that class was full of studs. Holy Mose in that class, Doug Elwell, Tommy Downer, all these guys, Sharon King. But I talked to him when I was in 8th grade, and I was just like, yo, I want to play with that dude for 3 years. Like, I want to be around him. I just feel like I'm going to get better. And they had girls.
Oh, yeah, right.
And they had girls. So I'm like, yo, this is just the perfect place. And I actually decided to go to Moore. And then when my mom asked me, well, why Moore? And I said, to continue my co-ed education.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, nah, I said, no.
That's not good enough.
That's not it. So I would end up going to Moore. I mean, I'm happy because in 7th grade, my parents wanted me to go to like Stuyvesant and Brooklyn Tech, and I was not having none of that. So, I mean, if I didn't end up at Peters, I would have been at Moore, and I think it would have turned out pretty well too.
All right, so that's funny. That would have been something you had more. So you get to Peters, and now you're playing for the legendary Coach Driscoll.
Mm-hmm.
What's that? How was he as a coach? First of all,
I mean, he's a phenomenal person, and I didn't always believe this, and I've had these conversations, but he's a phenomenal coach. Mm-hmm. And I was in the time they won 2 championships back to back before I got in there, so 7th and 8th grade. And then we didn't win a varsity championship the 4 years I was in the school. And this is big, bad St. Peter's. You're expected to win and all this stuff. And then the 2 years after I left, they won 2 championships.
Right.
I think they actually might have won 3 championships. But my time in St. Peter's was tough. My teams, compared to other teams, weren't that great. I mean, we played hard, and I thought we were coached well, but I mean, we just weren't that good. And at the time, being 16, 17 years old, losing, being on one of the worst St. Peter's teams in history, I had a lot of animosity towards a lot of people. I hated losing. I remember going to Port Richmond, which was my neighborhood school, and we got smoked on their senior day. Shout out to Damon Brown and John Myers. We got smoked. Monty Cumberbatch, Dami Sapara. But the stuff was embarrassing. Mm-hmm. So I really disliked Coach Driscoll. I didn't think anything he was doing was right. I was very openly critical towards him. I gave him a really hard time. Even through my senior year when I played all the time, I gave him a really hard time. And I actually left my high school career very bitter with my basketball experience. I felt like everything was underachieved. I felt like I didn't learn as much as I should have. But it wasn't until I took a step back in a couple of years and me and him had a conversation down the road where I realized that I was just being an asshole. Like, that's just what it was. Like, I just wasn't mature enough to handle certain things, and I needed to grow up. Right. So I have a huge appreciation for him. He's an incredible man. Still somebody that I could talk to today if I needed to, and he's had a really profound impact. And like you say, he's a legendary coach. I mean, everybody can say what you want. I mean, does he have most of the best talent every year? Sure. But it's even harder to do that when you're expected to win.
Absolutely.
When everybody's looking at you to win. So I got a lot of love for him.
I never really got a chance to meet him. Like, I seen him obviously playing against him and stuff,
Right.
but I never had a conversation with him. So I kind of wanted to know a little bit more about him. That's what's up. So now you played 4 years at Peters. How many was varsity?
2. I did freshman, JV, 2 years of varsity.
Like most Peters players.
Right.
Usually, except for you got the ODs and the,
right.
But all right. So after you do Peters, do y'all win a championship?
No championship.
So you don't get it.
No
Who'd
champ.
you lose to?
So my junior year we lost to Mo. We lost to Mo and Ram in the quarters. We didn't even deserve to be in the game, but it was actually a tough game. My senior year we lost to James Head, Adam Jensen, Ryan Rossiter, that group in the semis. Right. So that was the year they played Monty and them in the championship. Farrell won it. So like I said, we had from my freshman year, my team, we had, I think, 10 of the best. If you picked the top 20 kids on Staten Island, I thought we had 10 of them my freshman year.
Wow.
By the time my senior year came, it was just me. Whether a lot of people quit or some people transferred out of the school, whatever the case may be, there was a lot of stuff going on. When you're losing to St. Peter's, everybody wants to know the answers and who's the problem. Is it the kids? Is it the coach? So it was a lot of tough times. But yeah, I didn't really finish with a lot of the guys that I started with. So we didn't really get to matriculate and finish that out. So we didn't win any chips.
Wow. I never knew that because, especially my years playing, Peters is always at this.
You just assume you go to St. Peter's, you got one.
You got at least one. That's crazy that you don't. That's damn.
So when you talk about, and I've had conversations with people, I got a lot of respect for the history, but I always tell people you can never bring my name up in anything. I didn't win nothing. So you go to St. Peter's, you're supposed to win. So I don't care how good anybody thinks I was in high school, and I was all right, but you can't put my name up there with anybody else because they won.
Can you say, okay, let's get a little controversial. Can you say the same thing about Malik Martin?
So Malik's accolades are so undeniable that you can't deny them, right? So he's the all-time leading scorer at Curtis. He's a 4-year varsity player, starter. I remember watching his first game as a freshman, and I've seen him play, obviously, but the way he handled that, hitting step-back jump shots and all that stuff, like, it was very, very impressive. But I know he would say, and probably his brothers would say to him, like, yeah, you didn't win or whatever, but his accolades are so undeniable, especially that he's performing in college, that you can't take away what he did. But I bet if you asked him, he's such a competitor, he would say, you know what, you can't put me up there because I didn't win. Right. But I mean, kid's so good, you can't take that away from him.
So yeah, that I agree because Malik is. But my thing is, like when I was in high school, I didn't. First of all, I'm not familiar with Staten Island basketball because I'm coming from Queens, so. Like, I didn't really know about the Jakes, and all I knew about was winning. So that was my whole mindset, especially for McKee. Then I realized they never won one.
Right.
That was my thing, like, go get one. So it's just funny that, like you say, you and Malik don't have one, and y'all are considered, like, you're the best. Anyway, let's move on. So you finished Peters, then you go D1. Am I right?
Monmouth University, yeah.
So what happened there? Was you there?
So actually, there was a couple schools I could have went on scholarship. One was Charleston Southern, was in South Carolina. I had no interest in going that far. Another school that I was interested in was going to lean towards a scholarship was St. Francis in New York, St. Francis Brooklyn, and the school was a building, so it just wasn't for me. I wanted like a campus setting. So the coach, I told my coach, Dave Calloway, shout out to him, I told my coach, if he comes here, he's got a spot on the team. And I already had an academic scholarship to go. So I just had to pay for dorms, which was like $8,000. So I'm like, yo, you know what? I've watched the school all the time. They play Wagner. They're really good. They just went to NCAA tournament. I want to go. The biggest thing for me to play D1 wasn't like, yeah, I'm competitive and I want to play D1. I think I can play there. But I always knew I wanted to coach. So I felt like I need to go to a Division I school to understand what this is. Plus, like, I'm 18. I'm like, if I want to coach in D1, I need to play D1. Otherwise, people are not going to think I'm nice.
Right.
So I need to go do that. So went there and I had a good experience. The school wasn't for me. Like I didn't see the school before I went there. I was just like, I'm going because I'm gonna be on the basketball team, and which in retrospect is just not a great way to choose a college. But you know, when basketball is almost everything to you, you just want to do something to fulfill your dreams. But that's one of the best years of my life. I redshirted, practiced every single day. I was with a bunch of great teammates, some friends that I still have today. Met a lot of great people and learned the inner workings of a Division I program, especially one. They came off, they played Villanova, Mike Nardi, Randy Foy, Allen Ray in the NCAA tournament the year before. And now I'm with these dudes I was watching on TV playing the #1 team in the country. Now I'm in the locker room. So all these little things that I still remember today, try to keep perspective as a coach that you have a tough practice. Those guys are going down there, and this is the conversation in the locker room. So you got to know you got to pull that back together. So it was an incredible experience, but left there wasn't a good fit for me, and then I had to go on a different journey after that.
We're going to get to that. So before we move on, the route you took, right? What advice would you give someone that got the similar route? So, for example, like let's just say coming from Peters, goes to a Division I, kind of have the freshman blues. That's what we're gonna just call it.
Right.
What advice would you give them?
Don't burn no bridges, because people call everybody, no matter who you deal with. Don't burn no bridges. Number one, if you leaving the school, you know you're leaving. A lot of times, people will piss people off going out the door.
Right.
Then the coach pick up the phone and be like, "Oh, you had this kid. What happened?" And the coach don't got nothing good to say about you. So I kept my bridges intact, which was important. And also just be realistic. Like, you need to believe in yourself. And I'm one of the most confident people that you meet. But you also there has to be an element of being realistic to it.
Right.
Like, you can't, everybody goes and watches a game on TV, be like, yo, I can play there. But I tell people all the time, if Duke gave you a scholarship right now, and would you go? And most people are like, yeah, I would go. Okay, you want to play, right? They're recruiting McDonald's All-Americans every year. Are you that?
Right.
If you saying, oh, I can hang with them, okay, I mean, that's you. I don't believe that. But there's something about being confident, but there's something else about also understanding where you're at. Because I don't think you can truly get better and maximize your talents if you're not humble enough to know where you're at. So I'm not saying to go against somebody and be like, yo, he's this, he's that, he's got these accolades. I'm not as nice as him. Ain't nobody telling you to do that. Knock him down. But when understanding when you're competing, the number one thing about basketball is playing time.
Right.
You want to play.
Right.
I don't care where you are. You can be the nicest person in the world. You're the 13th man on Duke's bench. Ain't nobody know who you are. So you want to get somewhere, especially if you have aspirations to do something after basketball. You want to play overseas or something. I have my own opinions about that. You got to play. Nobody cares about nobody who's sitting on the bench.
Right.
So choose your schools based off that. Choosing, not just bouncing somewhere because of the level. Because you will go to Division III schools and Division II schools, and there are kids that are a lot better than Division I kids.
Right.
So people don't understand the process. People go to Division I not because they're nice. A lot of people do, but because of certain ways that they were able to get recruited. Because of exposure, because of whatever. And a lot of people don't understand that. They just look at somebody playing in the park. If you play me in the park, I play trucks growing up all the time. You play me in the park, I'm not ISOing you. I'm not doing it. It's not my game. You'd never see me in the Rumble. You never see me Holy Mo. It's not my game. I'm much more of an organized basketball player. But if you play me in the park and I'm not ISOing you, watching, you be like, yo, that dude he's not even nice. That's not my element. I know it's not my element, so I'm not going to put myself in that element.
I was going to ask you that, so we was going to get to that, but that's funny that you answered that. Yeah, I was going to ask you, so a lot of, because I really never seen you play. I caught a couple games when you was at CSI, but I've never seen you, especially in the environment like of Staten Island. So that was my question. Why don't you play like the Sun?
So the biggest thing is like in coming up is that I'm from the Harbor. So the Harbor's always had a team. They've run through tournaments forever. La, Ra, John Myers, all of them, Will, and
we know them.
And I'm like, yo, if I'm not gonna play with them, my cousin B-Dot's on the team. Like if I'm not running with them or with my neighborhood, because that's a friend group too as well, right? So if I'm not running with them, I'm not trying to play against them because that's my neighborhood.
Right.
I'd rather be there every time they're playing in the Rumble or in UTL. I'd rather be there and support them. You know what I'm saying? Because a big thing about me and my game, I understand, like, I'm a pass-first player. I'm a team basketball player. If you go down and you score on me, there's a competitive aspect of me that's going to want to score on you back. But I also understand there's 30 minutes left in this game. There's plenty of time for me to get you. I have the ball in my hand. If I'm not playing with somebody that understands I'm going to get you the ball, I might as well be a cone out there. You know what I'm saying? So if everybody want to go out there and just ISO, I'm not going to fit in that spot.
Right.
So I'm going to put myself out there and I'm going to look bad for doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not clearing people out. I'm not doing that. I don't play that way. I'm going to go, I'm going to get in the lane. If you open, you're going to get the rock. So understanding who you need to put yourself with to make yourself look better. Because, that stuff lives forever. Everybody will talk about Brian jumping over the car or this.
Facts.
So I could have been a car for the wrong reason. You know what I mean? I don't want to be out there being a car because I ain't use my personnel correctly. So I played a couple of times in random things. I ran with the new one time and just, I'm just in the park and they picked me up. But I'm this type of basketball player that, I want to play with people that understand how I play so I can help you be better because I'm trying to give you the rock.
So I read something. It said that you led CSI to its furthest NCAA tournament run. What was that? Like, how was that for you?
Man, it's one of the best experiences of my life. So when I got to CSI, wasn't nobody talking about going. They
Facts.
were losing a lot.
Facts.
And honestly, I wasn't talking about going either. It was actually, if I need to play ball, this is the only place that I'm going to be able to play ball. So let me put my ego or whatever I think my ego is aside and go hoop. And a lot of people are laughing like, oh, CSI, you playing there? Nobody cared. There's nobody in the games. But I actually came at a good time. Belucci McGlure, who's now Belucci Valbrun. Jordan Young was there. Dale Toronto, a couple of my other teammates. And we went there, and I'm like, yo, no disrespect to anybody here. I'm not a loser. And I don't think y'all losers. And we not losing. So I went there, and I played 2 years in my first year, and everybody wanted to win. They was tired of losing. We practiced really hard. I want to change some of the culture things. Like, I think open gym's really important. Like, I don't like trying to dunk in between open gym. Like, we wasting time. Let's hoop. Like, we got 2 hours in the gym. Let's hoop. We lost. Who's on? Let's hoop. Let's get as many games as we can. So the biggest thing about us was that we played hard from April all the way to when we started practice to the season. Like, if you're playing in the off season, we were playing hard. We were cussing each other out. We were fighting each other. We really cared about playing ball. That stuff went over to the court. So now we start winning games. We lose the championship my junior year. My senior year, and I think losing championship my junior year was the best thing that happened to us because we thought we was really nice, and that was the big humble. So now we still, no matter how good we were my senior year, we knew we got to finish the job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when we finished the job, that was cool, but it's like, yo, now we in an NCAA tournament. How legendary do we want to be? 'Cause a lot of people win championships, but I'm trying to win a national championship. So we set our goals so high, and even to this day, I'll tell you that we underachieved. I feel that way. We're the best team in school history. You can't even argue that. But I still feel like we underachieved because I think we had a national championship caliber type team. But obviously, when you shoot high goals and you land somewhere, everybody thinks that you did something tremendous, which we did. And shout out to my teammates. But that ride, I mean, we had the 2 rounds, and you know, your boy Javon Cox, we had on the team.
Shout out to him, bro.
Who was a freshman at the time and was not slated to play. I don't think he played in the first 12 games of the year.
Wow.
Then one of our big men got hurt. They threw him right in the starting lineup, and that's how you stay ready. And he came out there and he did his thing. So, you know, we had our first 2 rounds of NCAA tournament at CSI, packed. Never seen CSI like that unless it was Thanksgiving Eve. And that's something I'll take home a lot. People come in and supporting you, and those are, you know, as a coach, that's what I'm trying to get it back to like that. But, you know,
get to that.
Yeah.
That's that's what's up. I remember that. Like I said, I remember that situation where you said my boy Jamon was on that team. Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, Big Harbor, by the way.
So after you leave CSI, you are the director of basketball operations at NJIT. Am I right?
Yeah. So actually, the year in between that, I actually signed a contract to go to Germany.
Wow. Okay, so I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I graduated in 12. I signed a contract the summer of 12 to go to Germany. A week before I was supposed to go, I got really cold feet. We grow up, and what do we say? Like, I'm trying to go to the league, right?
Right.
And nobody grows up saying they want to go overseas. You say, I want to go to the league. And a lot of people don't understand how overseas works and that it's a true grind. Shout out to Mike B, shout out to Zay, shout out to anybody. It's a grind. Like, I think if you talk to those dudes, they'll tell you it's not as glorious as people make it seem like, but you playing ball, you getting paid. So when I realized what I was doing and I was going to be away for 8 months, and I'm not really built that way.
Right.
I got to know myself. I got to be honest with myself. So I stepped away from that. I tried out for the G League, the Fort Wayne Mad Ants. I went out to 2 different tryouts and workouts, got cut. First time I ever got cut from anything in my life. Wow. And I played 5 sports growing up. I've never been cut from anything. Very, very humbling. Then when I'm still working out, I'm like, all right, I'm going to try for the G League 1 more year before I give real life a go. And I got a call from NJIT, spot open, was I interested? I always knew I wanted to coach. There's my window in the D1. Because the thing about D1 coaching is you don't just apply. Jobs don't just open up and you apply and you got a chance. It don't work that way. If you see a job open up, it's already been filled a month ago.
Right.
It's just properly opened up because of HR. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, the fact that I had a connect there, a couple connects, Ryan Woods was there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, I got to take this. And a lot of people, like, were showing me love, like, on the book and everything, but they don't understand, like, you go to NJIT, and I made a grand total of $0. I lost a lot of money.
Wow.
Didn't get paid $1.
Wow.
So a lot of people don't understand that. So you go there, and people are like, yo, what, you director of operations. What is that? A lot of people can't tell you what that is. And how I used to tell people is that I do everything but coach basketball and recruit. And it's kind of like, so why you over there? What you doing? I'm doing everything. I'm ordering meals. I'm sweeping the floor. I'm mopping the floor. Guys sweating in practice. I'm sprinting now, and I'm wiping the sweat. That's embarrassing.
Right.
I don't want to do that. Like, I'm in practice. I never had anybody do that for me. Now dudes are sweating on the court, and our manager's not there. I'm on the floor. I'm on my hands and knees wiping the sweat. But you got to do whatever is asked of you,
right,
you know?
Right.
So I was around a bunch of great dudes and the coaching staff. I learned a lot. I had to organize all our trips. I'm not the best organized person. I learned a lot that year. It was really tough. We flew all over the country, and it was a very humbling experience, you know what I'm saying? So I was very grateful for that, and it's something that still pays off to me today.
Right. Wow, bro, that's crazy. I had no idea about that. My bad. I'm going back to my notes. Going back to my notes. So you leave NJIT, then you coach at Mount St. Vincent.
I'm at Baruch, so I go to Baruch. Yep.
Okay.
So how that happened is John Alisi, who's still the coach there, shout out to him. He gave me a call when I was in NJIT's office. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing next. And he called me on the phone. We kind of knew each other. He's a Staten Island dude. And I was like, John, I don't want to go D3. I felt like a senior in high school. Like, I feel like if I go D3, I'm never going to make it back to D1. So I'm trying to stay in D1. He's like, yeah, but you can coach. You'll be on the floor. You'll be recruiting. He starts pitching it to me. Come and have lunch. Also, when you go to CSI, you realize you have two mortal enemies, Brooklyn College and Baruch College. So I'm like, what I look like going, I already coached at Curtis when I went to Peters.
Right.
I already did that one. That was dope, but like in St. Peter's, it's like you the biggest trader in the world. You know what I mean? So like, do I want to do this again? I sat down with John. John had been at Pittsburgh. He'd been at Hofstra. He'd been at Manhattan. He's been at the places that I wanted to go to. He showed me how he ran his program. I'm like, yo, this is run like our program at NJIT. So I know I'm going to continue to learn, and that's the most important thing. And I got my salary increased. Are you ready? Grand total of $2,500. $2,500. But I was like, yo, you know what? I think this in the long term is going to help me out because I want to be a head coach. And true story, it's funny because some of my managers tell me, so when you go from a D1 and they don't understand what you're doing to local D3, a lot of people got questions. Oh, man, I thought this dude was a coach. I thought he was doing this. Don't understand the grind of it and everything you got to do.
Right.
Don't understand I made no money. The $2,500 I'm making at Baruch is not why I'm doing it. It's the experience and the knowledge I'm going to get.
Right.
Not experience. People look at experience as you putting something on your resume.
Right.
That's not experience.
100%.
Somebody got to call for you. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference between like, yo, I know Josh and I know Josh.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
People like are not going to put their name out for you just because they see you in passing.
Right.
There's got to be a real experience. So John had connections. I knew I was going to learn a lot from him. So I went there for 3 years, and then I had to do, then I did a month and a half at Mount St. Vincent.
And you was an interim head coach at that time.
Yeah, that coach I got let go, and Khalil Shorter, Young Talk, shout out to him. He gave me a call and was just like, yo, we need a coach.
Wow.
And I'm in the middle of my season at Baruch. We just lost to CSI, actually. I'm like, yo, man, we going for another championship? Like, I can't do that. So he's like, yo, we need a coach. Blah, blah, blah. This and that. He tells me stuff. Yo, I'm going to have somebody call you, send your resume and stuff to here. So I go home, talk to my girls, now my fiance. I'm like, can I leave Baruch in the middle of the season? Like, that just seems mad foul. She's like, well, what's the advantages? I'm like, well, you're a head coach. So this is my opportunity to show people that I can actually do this. It's mad hard to get a head coaching job anywhere. So I didn't have nothing to do with that firing, but here's an opportunity. So if I can succeed in this can help me more so than being an assistant coach at Baruch.
Right.
So I went through the interview process, got offered the job. I had a real conversation with John. And to John's credit, and I felt like I was a big help to the coaching staff, he said, yo, you got to go. You got to take it. He didn't want me to go, but he's like, yo, this is an opportunity. So that's why I have a lot of respect for him, because we're going for a championship and I'm helping, but he's like, yo, this is going to help your career. So because if he would have told me I don't think that's a good thing, I probably would have stayed, because I trust that he wants the best for me. He could have been selfish. He could have lied to me, and he helped me out. So went there, played 8 games, went 4-4, was by myself, no assistant coaches. It's the worst thing. I never want to do that ever again.
Wow.
But it's such a phenomenal experience, and also a humbling experience. When they hired their head coach, when they were going through their process, I didn't even get called for an interview. So then you start to realize the business of basketball. You think like, yo, they won 3 games before I got there out of 17. We play 8 games. We win 4. I got to get an interview.
Right. No.
I didn't even get an interview. I was mad at the world. Let me tell you, man, I quit coaching basketball.
Right.
People don't know that. I was like, yo, I'm not doing this. If I can't be good and get an opportunity, then why do I want to do this?
Right.
If you can't be good at something and get an opportunity, then what do I have to do? So I'm not doing whatever this is, whatever you think this is. I don't know how long I'm going to go for this. If real skill and talent can't help you, then I don't know what to tell you. But I got lucky enough that CSI job opened, and I went from there.
So you at CSI now, right? I could be wrong. I just hear things. CSI was a D3. That is the Division II program.
Yep,
now?
we're in our second year of Division II.
How did that happen?
I got a call into the office one day from my AD. I came to work. It's like December, maybe even November. Called me in the office, closed the door. I'm like, man, I've never been in this position before. Put something in front of me. It said Division II. I said, what's this? He said, our president's thinking about taking us to Division II. So he's like, how do you feel about that? I said, I got a million questions. Like, it sounds good, but if we're not prepared to go Division II, then, I know what our layout is as Division III program.
Right.
I know what type of kids we got to get. I know how we can get them. I know our competition. I'm comfortable with that. But if we're going Division II, is all these questions like, are we gonna have this? Are we gonna have that?
Right.
Are we gonna be prepared?
How can I recruit? Type of
if we're not prepared and I can't do this to be the best, then I need to be out of here. Because if the boat is gonna sink, it sounds good from the outside, D2, right? You're a D2 coach, but if we don't have the resources that we need to win, that could bring my career down with it. Because this is how I feed my family. This is now my full-time job and how I eat. So like, this ain't got no time for this don't work. Let me figure something out. If I'm not successful with this might be the last time I get. I mean, I don't know if you follow football, but Eric Bieniemy from the Chiefs, boy, don't even get an opportunity.
Right.
So like, I'm very aware of that. That if I'm not good at this might be curtains for me, and I don't want it to be curtains. This is not your regular 9 to 5 where you got a pension and whatever. You don't got that. If you're not nice, you're gonna be gone. So we went through that process. Last year was our first year of our transition process. It's 3 years. So during the transition process, you play all your games, you do all that stuff, but you can't go to the NCAA tournament. You can't play in the playoffs. So, but it's so like they see that your department is going through all the proper steps, administering the money correctly, going through all the new rules. It's a big change in the rules. But it's something as an alum I'm very excited about. To be a leader I'm excited about. But it's a lot of misconceptions too about what we can do and what we can't do.
Yeah, so that's another thing. So I remember especially in high school, CSI was always at our games recruiting. How is your approach recruiting on Staten Island?
Right. I feel like if we kept Staten Island kids home that want to be home, because as a Staten Island kid, I didn't want to be home, and I understand you want to go away. If we keep the Staten Island kids that are good enough to play at our level or better in our building, we could be good with just Staten Island kids alone. But there's a lot that goes to that, and I've said that plenty of times. Like, it's not just, a lot of people hit me up, and the biggest thing for me being a head coach at CSI is that I should be accessible. I should be a real person, not this mythical person that is the head coach. You never see him. Who am I? I'm the same person I was 10 years ago. So that's why I do a lot of stuff on social media and interact, because a lot of people think because you're something that you should be acting a certain way.
Right.
But I tell everybody, I'm TJ Tibbs before I'm Coach Tibbs. Like, I'm me before I'm any of this other stuff. So I would love to keep Staten Island kids home that are aligned with our program. And it has less to do with basketball than anything. More to do with how you carry yourself. And the one thing is, like, living on Staten Island is that you still, you can get to all your vices. You get to all the bad stuff when you're from here. Your friends might not be doing the best things. How are you going to separate yourself from that? Because I hear everything. If you walking around, if you in Park Hill, or somebody's in the town, or somebody's in the West, and one of my kids lives there, and they're not doing something right, somebody going to tell me.
Right.
Or you're going to do something, and that's going to get to me really quickly. So what people got to understand in general about any Staten Island, I don't care if you live in Oakwood, is that if you're not aligned with what we're doing, if you don't want to graduate, if you don't want to be an exceptional student, if school doesn't really mean a lot to you, then I'm not for you, and this program's not for you. So I don't care where you're from. If you don't want to do it the way that we do it, you have to become us. We're not becoming you.
Right.
And I don't care how nice you are. So a lot of times kids go away and like, oh, this kid's coming home. Cool. What are their grades like, and what is their commitment to school? Because this is my job. And like, the number one thing I said when I took over the program was our GPA was horrible. Now, last year, in the last semester, we have a 3.4 team GPA.
Wow.
As a team.
Wow.
I got a freshman out of 4.0. All my freshmen I recruited this year have over a 3.6 in their first semester of college. Now, that doesn't mean that they're really smart. That has something to do with it, but it means they're disciplined. Right. So if you think you just, you know what, I got a couple of C's, I got this D, yo, coach, I'm eligible 2.1, I'm the wrong person for that. Because you're going to carry that mentality into your work life, and then when I'm done with you, now like all you did was score points for me?
Right. That's not
so
enough.
It's got to be, I got to do more for you than you do for me. And if all you do for me is score points, you know who you're helping? You're helping me. Right. People are going to tell me you're a great recruiter. You're a great coach. People are going to want to hire me for another. You're going to help me and my family. Right. How am I going to help you and your family? Right. This should be an experience that elevates you more than if you went anywhere else. Whether you're walking around the street, whether you're an entrepreneur, and I believe those people can all be successful. Like one of my kids said, Coach, I don't think you have to go to school to be successful. I agree. But while you're here in my program, that you made that choice already. Right. So you're doing school and you're graduating. Otherwise, I feel like I'm a big failure. That's the minimum you should be doing.
Damn, that mindset is crazy, bro. I never heard that from a coach. You know what I'm saying? So that's deep. That's coming from you. But back to my notes again. So you're the seventh head coach in CSI history, right? And you're the first Division II coach in CSI history, right? So being that you're from Staten Island, coaching the Staten Island program, now that's D2, how do you go about your friends' kids that's play ball? And, Tibbs is at the CSI.
Right,
He
right.
gonna go. He's good over there.
Right.
How do you tell them?
Nah, that's a great question because everybody knows somebody who can play for your team.
Right.
The first thing I say to people, especially if I know them, like if you came to me and was like, yo, I got this kid, I'd be like, how do you know he can play for me? Have you seen me coach? Have you seen us play? Like, just because you think his talent level is Division II doesn't mean it's not created equal. You know what I mean? Like, can they handle the style that I coach? Because if they come and I'm getting in their shit and they don't like that, I should have knew that beforehand. We are in the information gathering business. So I need to gather as much information as possible to make an educated decision of who we're bringing in. People don't understand that. That's recruiting. I don't just go to games and go, yo, that kid's nice, let's try to get him. What's his grades? What's his parents doing in the stands? Because if his parents are yelling at the coach during the game, what makes you think they're not going to be yelling at you, acting crazy during the game? And not that I actually care about that, right? Anybody can yell at me during the game. I don't care. But that's going to affect the kid.
Right.
The kid's going to be up there like, see, like, I don't do that. You know what I mean? So we recruit the family as much as we recruit the kids.
So parents could be a distraction.
Parents are easily a distraction because they got to let go.
Right.
They're 18 years old. You're giving your kid to me to turn him from a young man to a man. That's my number one responsibility. Not to teach him how to Euro step or reverse pip. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to make sure when he leaves here, he can handle all his damn responsibilities. And he doesn't need you. You're always going to be there to support. And we all know everybody comes from different type of families. Might not have mom and dad. Might be grandma. Might be auntie. Might be big bro. Might be big sis. You need to get this kid out of your hair. You got your own life. I need this kid to be properly prepared. So the basketball court is my classroom. I don't teach math. I don't teach. That's my classroom. That's how I teach lessons. Do ball. They're not my friends during the time. We cool, and as you get older, you can say what you want. I argue with my older kids all the time. As soon as you're done playing for me, we friends. We friends for life. I was just speaking to Adiola Latunji earlier today about something, trying to help him get a job. We cool. We're friends. We went through it. I hope I prepared you as well as I can. I know I did. Now it's on you to use what I gave you.
Right.
So I think that stuff is really important. Like you're saying, people come to me all the time, and I appreciate it. You know, like it's part of the job. I can't be mad at it. But also, people just gotta respect. Like we work, and I say we, my staff, work very hard to be where we're at. We're not gonna get every single kid that we should get. That's impossible. There's always gonna be another kid that we should get. Oh, this one could have went to your school. Do you know the story? Do you know do you know the kid's grades? Do you know anything? Don't just go off the talent you see them playing and think like, oh, they could go to CSI. Take some time and dive into it. This is my livelihood. Right. So you got to make decisions that's going to help me. Kid come to the dorms and do something crazy. That kid out to school, but people looking at me. Right. So you got to try to make the best decision. And can we still make wrong decisions? Of course. But we try to get as much information to try to, narrow that gap down.
So, yeah, that's true. But so as a coach, right? What can you? So if you're recruiting on Staten Island, right? Let's just say you go to a McKee and Curtis game. How do you recruit? Do you go to the kid or do you go to the head coach?
So usually, especially on Staten Island, I know the head coaches, and I might know the kid, I might know the family, I might know if I go to McKee, you gotta go to McKee's bench and talk to somebody. Rest in peace, Loft, right? Because you know that whole section in the back. So I might go to Loft and be like, yo, who's young boy? And he tell yo, whatever, with my son or whatever. And yo, you want me to introduce you to moms or something? Just try to get a feel. But what I like to do when I go to Staten Island games is like when I'm at a game, you kind of know who I'm looking at. Right. You know what I mean? When I went to Farrell games last year, it was obvious. I was looking at Justin Zeras, right? But I like to see the younger kids. So I went to a McKee game, and I can't use names because I get in trouble, but I went to a McKee game last year versus Farrell. I was there to watch Justin Zeras, but also check on my boy Chuck D, right? See them play. And I said, oh, you got a couple of young boys, blah, blah, blah. I said, look, you got to tell them. Because we know how it is with McKee, with grades in school. You got to tell them.
I don't really know.
That don't know nothing about it. But you got to tell this kid. He got all the talent in the world. That's amazing. But he's not going nowhere if he just barely passing. And I will, as the college Staten Island coach, and somebody who's known Chuck D, he's known me since I was a baby. You feel me? So if he said, yo, can you take a minute and talk to my kid? Because I've been telling him, maybe, yeah, absolutely. Because I think that's my responsibility. Right. Especially being somebody who's black. You know what I'm saying? Especially being somebody that claims the harbor. So I'm like, yo, you ain't got to tell me. I understand, like, you got to eat schoolie today. You hungry, you got to go home. You got a little bag of chips or something. And, like, you can't eat right. I understand that. You know what I'm saying? But you got to do this, you got to do that, and that's still no excuse to not get your grades done, to not hand homework in. Don't go home after school. Go right from the key, go to tech, get yourself in the room, get on a computer, and do your work. Then you got to practice and do what you got to do. But that's what I try to be. Just try to be a I don't have all the answers.
Right.
Not even close, right? Not even close. But I try to be a liaison between what I know and what people don't know. Not because I'm like, yo, I'm experienced and I've been here. It's just like, yo, I've been through it over and over. And I want to see Staten Island win.
Absolutely.
Period. So
Absolutely.
I tell kids all the time, you don't want to come here, let me know where you want to go. I'll call the coach. No problem. I will call the coach and say, yo, I know this kid. I will give a real evaluation. I'm not going to lie.
Right.
But I will call the coach for you. I've told every kid I've ever seen that. I will call the coach for you. I don't care where you're going. I will call and tell them the honest truth because we need to win and we need to help our own.
Bro, that's fire. I'm going to tell you right now, if you was at CSI when I was coming up, I would 100% went to CSI.
No, I appreciate that.
100%. We got little segments here, a little couple questions. Answer them to the best of your abilities.
Got you.
No pressure at all.
None at all.
What's the first thing you do or think of when you wake up?
My dog, man. My dog wakes me up. I got a Rottweiler. She's about to be 2. And the first thing I think is my dog just jumps on my bed whenever she hears me moving around. And let me walk this dog before this dog shit in the house. Like, so that's my number one thought.
That's what's up. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Invisibility.
Why?
People are annoying, man. Like
Thanks.
people, instead of like, I don't do what's it? Red. I don't do the red. Like leave you on red. I don't do that, man. I'm just not answering you. I'm not opening, and that's disrespectful. But like people be annoying sometimes. You know, sometimes you want to be somewhere, but you actually don't want to be present.
Right.
And the hardest thing about being is part of the job. I say it all the time. Is like you could be somewhere and like people don't turn off the fact that you coach college basketball. So you might just be out and just like a basketball game might be on, but you're not even paying attention to it, and people want to talk to you about basketball. Instead of being mad, I understand like that's the life that I live. But sometimes I go out and I just want to eat the chicken wings that are in front of me, and I don't want to think about nothing. Like you know what I mean?
Chicken.
But you be respectful as possible. So if I could be invisible sometimes, I would love it.
Fine. What is your biggest failure, and what did you learn from it?
I fail every day. So every day I fail. And if I don't, that means I'm probably not doing something. But my biggest failure, that's a great question. My biggest failure might be, all right, I'll take it like this. My biggest failure might be I have an older sister who has 2 kids, and she moved to Georgia. So we weren't as close as we should be because of proximity.
Right.
So proximity be making people feel like you close to New York because you right up under each other.
That's 100%
So it's like, oh, that's my man's. No, actually, y'all just live
Y'all
next
just
to each
live-
other, and
exactly.
that's y'all close. You know what I mean? But when my sister moved away, I didn't really get to develop a relationship with my niece, who's the oldest one, as much as I would have if she was around, because I didn't make the efforts to call and FaceTime all the time. I was kind of like, they down there, they doing whatever. And now that she's older, we have a good relationship, but it should be much better. So now I'm learning, and I said something like this the other day on social media, it's like, I'm not a big picture dude, but like, when you go through things, we wait too long. When death happens, you start scrolling through your phone, like, damn, that's my man. I don't even got a picture with him.
Yeah.
Because we think taking pictures is whack. Like, why are we getting together? Like, oh, yo, Aaron's my man. I'm with him all the time. Why are we taking a picture? Because it's Tuesday. Like, nah, you should, because you just never know. Sometimes that's all you got to hold on to. So
Yes, bro.
I wish I was a more mature person to handle that. And now I just take that into what I do now. So I think that's a big failure, not growing a relationship with a little kid when they're young.
That's a good answer. What advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career similar to yours?
And be prepared to be broke and be okay with that, and keep the main thing the main thing. So the biggest thing is, if you want to coach college basketball, don't settle for high school. Don't settle for, like, if you want to coach college, get into college. Whatever you want to do, do that. And don't think money is, you later in your career you're going to get paid back taxes for what you should have been making earlier. But don't make a decision based on money if you don't need it.
Right.
If you need money, don't coach college basketball, because you're not gonna make money until who knows. So if you really think, oh, I'm gonna go make Calipari make $8 million a year, ain't nobody doing that. You gotta understand that you gotta take a lot of L's. You gotta take a lot of sacrifices. I took a job when I coached at Baruch. I took a job, Harlem Prep 125th and second, 123rd and second, just so I could be in the city and exist. I used to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 2-hour commute up there on PT. just so I could coach college basketball. So you got to make a lot of sacrifices. And it's, like I said, a lot of people don't know I didn't get paid anything at NJIT. People, oh, I'll do that, but I say, yo, I was living on my credit card and savings. Everybody ain't ready to do that. It don't sound as glamorous, but did it pay off? I would say it's still paying off.
Damn, bro, you messing me up, messing my head up today. Who are 3 people who have been the most influential to you?
My dad, definitely, and I would say my parents in general are still very involved. But being a man and where you're from, you don't realize how grateful you are to have your dad in your life until you get older. Right? And my dad is a lot of people's father figures.
Right.
He coaches, he takes that responsibility on, but just in the neighborhood, you don't realize somebody spending the night over your house, they having a conversation with your pops. They don't get that chance to have that.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad being around all the time and being around now. I call him right now. I had a flat tire yesterday. It was freezing cold. I was like, yo, you got the power tool. You pull up. My dad, I don't know what he was doing. He just pulled up. That's so big shout out to him because he didn't have a father in his life to show him how to be a father.
Right.
So my dad, I would say it's crazy. I got the Mamba hat on, but Kobe Bryant, I don't know him, but everybody feels like you know him based on how he presented himself.
Right.
And how he competed. And obviously when you die, everything gets maximized, right? And you start hearing things differently. You start hearing Nipsey differently, right? But Kobe had a huge impact on the way I play basketball. I didn't play like him, but I appreciated him, the way he gritted his teeth, the way he was with his teammates, because I felt like I was a good teammate, but sometimes you catch me on the day, if you're not working hard, I'm probably not going to be a good teammate, probably not going to like me, but I will drag you across the finish line before I let you hold me up, and that's the approach I took. And then I'm going to have to go number 3, my fiance, who's, we've been together for 9 years, we're getting married next month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's major. It's
yeah,
major.
Women, bro, are strength. Like my girl, she's everything for me. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely know what you're talking about.
I think thank you and stuff is just not enough. Like it's amazing. Like I don't have any kids yet, but just like my mother and my sister, the 2 strongest women in my life. So I had a good example growing up, and it allowed me to really be selective and pick my fiance. But she's been with me. I tell the story all the time. We ate Subway. We both got Subway. We split a Subway. I was so broke at NJIT, we split a Subway sandwich for our anniversary. Damn. And our anniversary was actually yesterday. So this is 7 years ago. We split a Subway sandwich on our anniversary. That's how broke I was. And this is somebody who's beautiful, amazing, and could have been with somebody with money and just believed. I kept telling her, like, yo, I'm going to be this. And she was there like, I know. And didn't care that I couldn't get her a nice gift at Christmas until probably 4 years ago, because I didn't really have it like that, maybe 5 years ago. So when you talk about support and ride or die and all that, I mean, and what she does in her own life individually is just daily. It's just inspiring.
Shout outs to Wifey Tibbs.
Yeah, thank you.
Definitely. All right, this is our little last segment. This is called Finish Your Sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So here it goes. If I wasn't coaching basketball, I would be
in the music industry doing something.
I have seen every episode of
The Sopranos.
Well, me too. One of my favorite series. I wish I was living in
The Harbor. I missed that joint. I don't even live that far from there. I missed that joint.
I'm currently addicted to
I'm really nerding out on nerd basketball stuff. So not like analytics, but it's hard to explain, but I'm really nerding out on I used to think feel wasn't, you can't teach it. This kid got a good feel, but now I'm a heavy believer that you can. I read a lot of stuff on nerd Twitter of people putting out all these articles about stuff and mind stuff and cognitive ability. So I'm really it's sickening how much I read about this stuff now.
So what's up? My name is TJ Tibbs, and I am a
human. And I think that stuff matters today because, especially being black, sometimes people just, you're a coach. You're a black man. You're a young black man. I'm a human. I'm just like anybody else. We all have the similar opportunities, not the same, but, I could have complained about a lot of different things. You could complain about a lot of different things, but the whole thing is just to figure it out. So I'm a human. I want people to see me as a human. I got to do my part to make sure people see that, even though unfairly I shouldn't have to do that. But first and foremost, I'm a human, and we all in the human race.
Amen to that. Shout outs to that. Tibbs, thank you for coming, my brother. I appreciate you. I learned so much about you that I did not know. And yeah, definitely thank you for coming through, bro.
I appreciate it. This was dope. Big shout out to you. I told you, I mean, I'm lucky to be on this, so I appreciate
No, we
you.
lucky to have you. Yeah, that's another thing too. I wanted to thank you because as soon as I hit you up, the answer was 100% yes. Just tell me when and where. So I definitely appreciate you for that. A lot of people can't get next to you, so I just feel a little special for that.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Thanks, bro.
Appreciate it.
Keeping it raw, nothing lasts or more.
It's only right.